Hello friends, in the last videos we have seen about core sample extraction and testing as well as carbonation test. This video we are going to see about pull-out test. This test also called as lock test or capo test. Another test is penetration resistant test. This test is also called as Winster prop test. These two tests comes under the category of partial destructive testing techniques. First one is pull-out test. What is pull-out test? So it is one among the partial destructive testing techniques used to estimate the concrete compressive strength. A standard steel prop is embedded into a fresh concrete where the pull-out test need to be carried out. This test is carried out by a standard steel prop is embedded into the fresh concrete, and after the fresh concrete is hardened, the standard steel prop is pulled out by using the standard equipment. So how much force is required to pull out the standard steel prop? By the standard pulling force to pull out the steel prop, we can able to understand the strength of the concrete, especially in situ concrete. So after the concrete hardened, the prop is pulled off using the standard equipment. This standard equipment designed in such a way it will produce results, pull out forces that closely correlate with the compressive strength of concrete. So normally failure may be as like a cone shape, So you have to understand that this pulling force will give the tensile force of the particular concrete, not a compressive force. This tensile force can be correlated with the compressive force, then we can able to examining the strength of the particular concrete. So this picture shows the dimensions of the standard steel prop, 25 mm, and pulling force location of the rod, location of the pulling force rod is 55 mm. So what is the use of this pull-out test? This test is used to determine in situ tensile strength of the concrete, which can be correlated with the compressive strength of concrete. So suppose I want to find out the tensile strength of the particular structure, then we can go for pull-out test. Especially you can imagine precast industry. Precast industry, the wall panel or slab or beam, so any panel must be lifted up. That time how much the particular concrete strength is needed when it is fails, whether it is able to resist the lifting force. So that aspect, it is this kind of test is very much useful for precast industry, especially to find the tensile strength. Obviously we can also relate with the compressive strength, then we can able to find out tensile as well as compressive strength of particular in situ concrete. Ascertain the strength of concrete for carrying out post tensioning process. We know that post tensioning process, lot of tensioning force is applied to the PT slab. That time we can understand how much force is the particular force can be applied to the particular slab. Determine the time of removal of forms. Suppose I am doing the structure, the 28 days is needed or minimum 14 days are needed to remove the props. Suppose I understood the structure is attain the desired strength, then I can remove the formworks or shores based on the actual in situ strength. So it is gives the direct results. It is not giving the, we are not doing the cube compressive strength. So many structures, cube compressive strength may be high, but the real time structure strength will very less. So this kind of test will give the results of real time structure or in situ structure. Okay. Terminate curing based on the in situ strength. So suppose the strength is achieved, then we can able to terminate curing process. It can also be used to testing repaired concrete sections. So repaired concrete section, the strength can be evaluated with the use of pull-out test. This kind of test will help to understand capacity of concrete. Commonly used precast and pre-stressing. Already I have mentioned in the first point. This is very much useful in the precast industry to find the strength of the particular element. Especially lot of hooks need to be carried out in the precast elements. That time we can go for this kind of test. This kind of tests are rarely used in India but used to some extent in abroad, because precast industries are more in abroad. They are using pull-out testers. Some caution is that is presence of reinforcement makes interferes with the test. Suppose the reinforcement are interfering, then this test cannot able to carry it out. So we have to assure before we doing the test there is no reinforcement in between the pull-out test or steel props. So some typical graph is represented here to understand the relationship between tensile strength and compressive strength. So tensile strength is obtained from the pull-out test. So that by the tensile strength we can able to get the compressive strength by the way of this kind of graphs. So what need to be done for post-test process? Because we are somewhat some portion is we are damaged. What need to be done exactly after the test? So after the concrete has fractured by this test, the holes left in the surface are first cleaned and dust by a blower. It is then primed with epoxy glue, and the hole is filled with polymer modified mortar to make the surface smooth as well as strength as like a previous concrete. Now we are going to see one video to understand pull-out test. It is a precast slab. They are inserting the standard bolt to the precast slab. Pull-off test equipment is affixed with the bolt to pull the bolt. The legs are properly positioned and pulling force is applied by the lever. It is rotated and pulling force is applied, and dial gauge is moving based on the pulling force. The pulling force is continued until the failure of a fixed bolt with the slab.
20.
So the red arrow is indicating the force, and the black one is returning now. That means it started failing. Black one is started returning. That means it started failing. The red indicator indicates the maximum load, maximum pulling force carried by the particular slab. Now the structure is failed. We can understand the pulling force, maximum pulling force with the help of the dial gauge. We can see that. So approximately it is a 2500 kg or 25 kilonewton. The load is carried by the particular slab. it shows the tensile strength. So the portion need to be properly treated by the method already I have mentioned. So this is the way we can understand, we can do the pull-out test, and we can understand the tensile capacity of particular in situ concrete. Now we are going to see about pull-off test. This is a modified version of pull-out test. So here this test doesn't need any pre-installed steel prof. So that's why it is called pull-off test. This is the test is a modified version of pull-out test. What they are doing with the pull-off test? Here they are making the hole drill. They are making the drill hole, and this portion they are separating from the concrete, the structural concrete. So this then they are fixing the plate over this separated drill hole. So it is assumption that the steel plate and concrete are fully affixed, and by the equipment hydraulic jack they are pulling the core portion between the drill hole until the drill hole is get fractured. So this is a tensile fracture is obtained. Okay, this is also will give the tensile strength of the particular structure. With the help of tensile fracture, then we can able to get the compressive strength of the particular concrete structure. Let me read it. A metallic disc is glued either to the concrete or to the surface of partial core. So plate is fixed on this portion, the separated portion from the concrete. Force required to pull off the disc causing the tensile failure. So already mentioned, tensile fracture or tensile failure is observed, or the force is indicated by the hydraulic jack is a tensile force. So through this tensile force can be correlated to the compressive strength. So we can able to find tensile as well as compressive strength by this kind of experiments. Pull out and pull off testers measures the tensile strength of concrete, not a compressive strength of concrete, but can be related with the compressive strength. Of course we are getting both the strengths. This method is especially useful for measuring the bond between the overlays. So this is a pull-off test. Let me see one video to understand pull-off test.
Pull-off resistance method for concrete. The pull-off test is an in situ strength assessment test for concrete, which measures the tensile force required to pull a disc bonded to the concrete surface with an epoxy or polyester resin. The pull-off force provides an indication of the tensile and compressive strength of concrete. The most commonly used pull-off test is the 007 bond test or James Bond test. The test consists of a hand-operated lever, concrete core cutter, bond discs, an adjustable alignment plate, and force gauge. The disc is bonded to the concrete surface with a high-strength adhesive. With the help of the concrete core cutter, a cut is made around the disc to the certain depth. Next, the disc is attached to the hand-operated lever by a screw. After leveling the adjustable alignment plate, the tension force is applied by the lever till the disc comes off with concrete. The force required to pull off the disc is measured in the force gauge. The tensile strength of the concrete is calculated by.
So next test is penetration resistant test. So this is another simple concept this test is working. So as like that we are nailing in our home. If the concrete strength is more, we could not able to nail easily. If concrete strength is less, we can easily nail it in our home. Similarly, this penetration resistant test also working in the same principle. A Winstead probe machine is trying to embed a steel probe into the concrete. If the concrete strength is more, the penetration depth is very less. If concrete strength is less, the penetration depth is more. So based on the penetration depth, we can able to understand the concrete strength. So this test is called as penetration resistant test. So this is also called Winstead probe test, based on why, because of we are using the Winstead probe testing machine. In this test method, a steel probe is fired or inserted, embedded on the concrete surface by Winstead probe testing machine. For a standard load of the machine, depth of penetration is measured. The depth of penetration is correlated with the compressive strength of concrete. So already I have mentioned this penetration is inversely proportional to the strength of concrete. Strength of concrete is more, depth of penetration is less, and vice versa. So what is the purpose and use of this test? The purpose of the penetration test is used to determine uniformity of concrete. As like we have discussed in earlier videos, rebound hammer test or ultrasonic pulse velocity test, we should not test in a particular area. The entire area must be tested. Then we can understand the uniformity or the strength, the stronger portion or weaker portion, that we can able to understand. Here also, penetration resistant test need to be carried out to the entire structure. Then we can able to understand the uniformity of concrete. Specify the poor quality or deteriorated concrete zone. If entire structure is analyzed, then we could understand the poor quality and which is the deteriorated zone, that we can able to understand and evaluate the in place. Especially these testers, we are talking now only on in situ test or the real time structure, place of the structure. Okay, it is sometimes necessary to estimate the strength of concrete on site for yearly form removal. So suppose if there any situation arises for yearly form removal, then we can do this kind of tests. If strength is attained, then we can go for yearly form removal to investigate the strength of concrete in place because of low cylinder test results. If cylinder test result is low, then we can go for this kind of tests, cylinder or cube compressive strength. So what is the drawback? Due to the nature of equipment, it cannot and should not give the expected or to yield the absolute values. It gives the approximate values of the particular strength of the structure, and as well as it makes lot of holes on the structure. So this is some of the drawbacks on this kind of testers. So let me see one more video to understand penetration resistant test.
Penetration tests on concrete. Penetration resistance methods are aggressive NDT procedures that are used to determine the strength properties of concrete. This method is done by driving probes into concrete samples using a uniform force. The most commonly used penetration resistance method is the Windsor probe system. The system consists of a powder-actuated gun, which is used to drive hardened alloy steel probes into concrete structures and measuring unit. A probe of diameter 6.5 mm and length 8 cm is used for testing. The gun is placed on the required location and probe is forced onto the concrete sample. The depth of penetration of the probe provides the indication of the compressive strength of the concrete. The depth of penetration is generally correlated with the compressive strength of concrete. The main disadvantage of this method is it makes a hole and damages the structure, and the accuracy of the result is quite low compared to other testing methods. Thank you for.
So next we are going to discuss about cover meter, rebar locator and half cell potential meter, that we will see in the next video. Thank you.